Welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a matchup that is absolutely crackling with tension. We're looking at Argentina versus Switzerland, and let me tell you, this isn't just your standard 90 minutes of football. It's a massive collision of intense off-pitch drama and a seriously fascinating on-pitch tactical chess match. The source material we're analyzing today paints a picture of a game where the stakes literally could not be higher, both emotionally for the fans and strategically for the managers. So, we're going to strip away all that noise and unpack exactly how this high-pressure cooker of a game is actually going to play out. Let's get into it.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, we'll dive into the controversial narrative surrounding the Argentine squad right now. Then, we pivot straight to the pitch to examine Switzerland's tactical wall, figure out exactly where Argentina struggles, look at Scaloni's blueprint to overcome it, and finally, we'll wrap up with the ultimate stakes of this match.
Okay, consider this quote from our source material for a second. It perfectly captures the intense anxiety, honestly borderline despair, felt by the Argentine fan base right now. There's this palpable fear, a really deep-rooted sentiment that critics are actively rooting for an Argentine failure. The source argues that for a really loud section of the footballing world, an Argentina loss wouldn't just be your standard tournament upset. It would literally be viewed as saving football from a team they feel is unfairly favored. Man, that is a heavy, heavy emotional burn to carry onto a pitch, right? Section 1. The controversial narrative. Let's look at exactly where this heavy emotional burden comes from.
So, according to the analysis, there's this pervasive kind of toxic, rigged narrative targeting Argentina. On one hand, you have recent matches with unnoticed handballs, like incidents involving Spain, or France's Adrien Rabiot. And our source notes these generated, well, pretty much zero public fuss. But reverse the context. If you put Argentina in those exact same scenarios, the source argues the hypothetical outrage would be absolutely deafening. Basically, the argument here is that the internet and certain critics are selectively applying their outrage. And that creates a highly pressurized, almost hostile environment for the Argentine players before a ball is even kicked.
And that leads us to the second part of this off-pitch argument. The source claims this selective hate completely ignores logic and the objective perspectives of highly respected football professionals. When Mo Salah realistically brushes off a non-penalty call based on the physical realities of the game, or when Toni Kroos praises Argentina's elite mentality, those expert opinions are allegedly just ignored by the masses because they don't fuel that rigged agenda. Even legendary referee Pierluigi Collina's objective standards are supposedly tossed right out the window. The core takeaway here? According to our source, rational analysis is just being completely drowned out by online agendas.
But all right, stepping off the narrative pitch and putting all that emotional controversy aside for a second, we have to look at the geometric and tactical reality of the upcoming 90 minutes. Can Argentina actually break this Swiss wall?
Section 2. Switzerland's tactical wall. This is where the game will actually be won or lost.
So the crucial point here is the personnel matchups. Switzerland, managed by Murat Yakin, is a highly disciplined, defensively sound unit. We literally just saw them entirely dismantle Colombia's pace and physicality in their last outing. Look at the midfield battleground. Granit Xhaka and Remo Freuler for the Swiss going right up against Enzo Fernandez and Rodrigo de Paul. Xhaka's line-breaking passes and press resistance are going to test Argentina severely, no doubt about it. In defense, Manuel Akanji and Nico Elvedi are tasked with defending those super dangerous central pockets where Julian Alvarez and Lionel Messi absolutely love to operate. And finally, the goalkeepers. Gregor Kobel for Switzerland has been putting in brilliant performances, standing as the ultimate test against Emi Dibu Martinez, especially if this whole thing grinds down to a penalty shootout.
Now let's see how these matchups build into Murat Yakin's specific blueprint. Our source analyzed Yakin's recent press conference, and the Swiss manager is remarkably open about his strategy. First up, he's actively preparing his goalkeepers for penalties, which signals he's more than happy to drag this game deep into the trenches. Second, he noted that if you aggressively press Argentina, they can actually panic and their structural shape gets disfigured. He plans to use a rigid 4-5-1 or 5-4-1 mid-block to keep them at bay. Tactically, because their star right-back Menzambi is out injured, Yakin is expected to slot the defensive midfielder Denis Zakaria into that right-back role. And finally, by deploying super-fast players like Ndoye and Vargas on the wings, Switzerland fully intends to stretch the pitch on the counterattack.
Section 3. Where Argentina struggles. Let's flip the board and take a look at the South Americans.
To understand Argentina's pain points, we really need to define the mid-block. It's basically a defensive strategy where a team compresses space in the middle third of the pitch. This prevents central passes, but without the team retreating all the way back into their own penalty box. The source highlights that Switzerland will use this exact tactic to force Argentina into making useless, sterile, repetitive passes way outside the danger zone. They're essentially trying to bore them into making a mistake, while the clock just ticks down. And this leads directly into Argentina's greatest vulnerability. Because Argentina strongly prefers to play a very narrow, central style of football right through the middle of the pitch, they rely heavily on their attacking fullbacks, like Noel Molina, to actually provide width. The problem? When Molina bombs forward, he leaves a massive, dangerous space right behind him. If Switzerland wins the ball back in their mid-block, players like Ndoye or Vargas are going to immediately exploit that vacant space. The source points out that teams like Cabo Verde have previously provided the exact blueprint on how to stretch Argentina's lines and break their defensive transitions by exploiting these wide areas.
Section 4. Scaloni's tactical blueprint. Basically, how does Argentina counter the counter?
To bypass that pesky Swiss mid-block, Scaloni simply cannot rely on possession alone. He has to inject what the source calls chaos. Step 1. Use Julian Alvarez's relentless channel running to stretch the Swiss defense and pin those players back. Step 2. Establish a really strong rest defense. This means keeping the left back Tagliafico much deeper to ensure they aren't caught out on a quick counter. Step 3. Rodrigo de Paul must be positioned specifically to cover the right side and protect the space left by Molina's overlapping runs. And finally, Step 4. Control the center. Enzo Fernandez has to act as the metronome here, dictating the play and ensuring the team doesn't lose the ball in those highly dangerous transition moments.
But you know, Scaloni's blueprint isn't just about the starting 11, it's heavily about the bench. The source emphasizes that if the Swiss press starts suffocating them, Argentina has some serious game changers waiting in the wings. Nico Paz is highlighted as the ultimate weapon. He is highly resistant to pressing and ideal for beating those high-intensity Swiss traps. Then you have Giuliano Simeone, who can pin back an attacking threat like Ricardo Rodriguez. You've got Nicolas Gonzalez bringing a massive defensive work rate and a vertical threat. Plus Palacios and Barco for that crucial late-game energy. If Switzerland tries to drag this out, Scaloni absolutely has the fresh legs to adapt and overcome.
Section 5. The ultimate stakes.
39. This single number represents the age of Lionel Messi. The source reminds us that he is practically performing miracles on the pitch right now, playing with the energy of a 19 or 23-year-old, at an age where most professionals have long since retired. The emotional weight of this entire game hinges heavily on this number, because let's face it, every match could potentially be his last on this grand stage. He is carrying not just the tactical demands of the team, but the immense emotional weight of a fan base that is absolutely terrified of a bitter end to his international story.
Which brings us to our final thought. Will this match be remembered as a tactical masterclass where Scaloni's blueprint and Messi's magic secure a legacy? Or will it be a bitter end, a victory for Yakin's disciplined Swiss wall, totally overshadowed by the toxic off-pitch noise that the source fears so deeply? The tactics are set, the emotional stakes are sky high, and for 90 or maybe even 120 minutes, we're going to witness an absolute spectacle. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep these tactics in mind when you watch the match unfold.